Hello, friends! Welcome back! I am back for another one. Apparently, I did a good enough job that it warrants a return, and I am very, very, very excited about this one because today we are with the one and only Colleen Brady. Colleen, welcome to the stream.
Thank you. That was a lot of varies. I must say, I am very, 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 very excited to be on the stream, partially because I get to talk about some things that I absolutely love, and also because I get to talk with you. And we always have a good time whenever we get together and talk no code, no
Absolutely.
code things and what we're building and share tips and tricks. So I hope everyone
Absolutely.
enjoys this too.
Now, just for a little bit of context, for everyone that doesn't know Colleen, what are you doing? Now, you might, so Colleen basically is the superstar that basically helps everyone behind the scenes with streaming setups, organizing events, just being an all-round OG. And so I am personally excited that I'm the one that gets to chat with you today, in front of the camera. And besides helping all of us out, you also are a no-code genius. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown as to who you are for all of those people that are getting to know you today and how you kind of got into the no-code space?
Yes, happy to. So I do a hodgepodge of a lot of different things, typically behind the scenes, typically things that I don't always necessarily talk about publicly. Uh, and one of the ways that I got into no code was actually doing websites that were related to conferences and events. And so that has been a passion of mine for quite a while. And so it's great today to be able to talk about kind of marrying those two interests.
Amazing. And so today we're going to be talking specifically about some things that you can do with no-code tools to organize events. So can you give us like a high-level rundown of what we're going to be going over the next hour in terms of things that we're going to build?
Sure. Happy to. So, if you wouldn't mind, maybe I'll just take a step back a little bit to say a little bit about some of the things that I've done in the past
Yep.
that are related to conferences and events, because I experienced some major pain points, and that those pain points has kind of fueled part of what we're going to go through today. So one of the things that I used to do is build websites for conferences and for startup pitch competitions using WordPress and using a couple different plugins. One was Gravity Forms, one was Advanced Custom Fields. Use Zapier to kind of glue it all together. Would send data to Google Sheets, would send data to Google Docs, and had a lot of manual processes. And some of it was automated, which was great. But it was always kind of difficult to be able to make sure that we were getting content about the judges, about the speakers, about the organizers up on a website. And then also, it was often very difficult and very, very labor intensive when it came time to start to promote an event and doing all the social media graphics. And so, part of what we're going to be doing today is looking at how to basically take this data that's coming in from different people at different times. Sometimes you have all of it, sometimes you don't, and getting those graphics created and then getting them sent out in a way that doesn't require hours and hours of mind-numbingly boring work.
I love that. The reason why I love that is because obviously I got a little preview as to what we're working on. And I am going to use this on the Unicorn Factory, so whenever new freelancers join, I can create a little social post for them that I can fire out. So there are a lot of phenomenal use cases for this. Now, we've got a lot to cover, so let me switch over into browser view. And let's first of all go over the tools that we're going to be using in order to make all of this happen.
Certainly. So for today's stream, we're just going to be mostly working in Airtable, but we are also going to be using Placid app, which if you have watched the stream before, there's been a couple streams with Placid. There's also some videos that Aron has done in the past too using Placid. We're also going to be using Zapier to glue a couple pieces together, and then also Twitter, because we're going to be tweeting out some of the images that we're about to create.
And okie dokie. So, where do we start?
Should we talk a little bit about the base
Yep.
and before we start doing too much of the automation. So one of the things with conferences is that, or events, is depending upon the size of the event, there are a lot of moving parts. And so you can kind of see in this little window under the extensions that Connor has open is that this is the entity diagram that Airtable has made so that you can kind of see the data relationships that you have in a particular base. And I didn't, for today's stream, I started to build out a bit of a base so that we had some pieces to work with. It's not fully built out, but you can just see a little bit here that as part an event, you've got people that you're dealing with. You may have speakers, you may have judges, you have volunteers, you have crew that you're needing to work with, and there's different pieces of data that you need to know about those. So in our particular case here with our social media graphics, we need to know a person's title, potentially the title of the talk that they're going to be speaking about. And as part of the talk title, that's part of your programming. And so where is that going to be taking place? Not a big deal if you just have sort of one track going and everything's taking place in the same spot. But if you have a larger event with multiple time slots, multiple speaking at different times, keeping track of that can get a little hairy. And so Airtable has some features that can make that a little bit easier. And then what else do we have here? Kind of ticket sales and some other things that we're not necessarily going to dive into today, but hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of the totality of some of the moving pieces that are involved with an event.
Yeah. So in short, what we're doing here is we're taking something pretty intense, complicated. We're simplifying it by basically creating unique tables inside of Airtable that relate to each other.
Yes,
Fantastic.
that's a great way to put it.
Cool.
So should we start with our first use case?
Let's do it.
Okay, so, and I did get a little bit of help coming into this stream, and I see a couple of people in the chat. So thank you for, if we look in the people table in the grid view, there may be a few familiar names from today's chat that are in the stream here. So thank you for helping give me some real data to work with as part of the stream. So as part of an event, you've got different people. You've got people in different roles. And so we've got people who are attending an event. We have people who are helping organize an event. So like if you look at that grouped people view, you can kind of get a little bit of an overview of like, here's kind of the different roles that we're dealing with. So if you, okay, so with that, let's take a look at who our speakers are. So if you get, you're clicking on the groups.
Yep. Speakers.
Okay, so one of the things that has happened behind the scenes is folks fill out their speaker profile and they end up in this particular view tagged with select information. I want to now do a social post about that person being a speaker for my event. I want that information actually to be in a separate table. Now, while I could potentially do all my social media posting from my people table, there's a lot of data that's already going to be going in here that needs to be different for sort of these different roles. And that's going to make this table very big, bulky, awkward, difficult to deal with. So that's why we're going to have our social post table. That's one of the reasons that we're going to do that. The second reason is ultimately long-term, as part of your marketing of your event, you're going to be wanting to talk about not just your speakers, but your sponsors, other types of promotional marketing. And by having all this data in one cohesive table, you've got it all together so you can get a big view of everything all at once.
Yep.
But I don't want to copy everything manually. So that is why I've got, if you go and click on this field that says social post status, see how it all says to do? I haven't done any posts for these people. Well, actually, before you click on one of those, why don't you go over to the social post tab just so that everyone can see that there isn't any data in there currently. So
yep.
Empty, clean table. If we jump back over to people and just pick someone, click on them and change the status to be send to social posts.
Okay. Oh, something happened. Ooh.
Yes, because we have linked records.
Oh, all Alrighty then, let's go and check it out.
So now in our social post table, we have, you know, some data that I started to kind of copy over as part of an Airtable automation. And I've started to draft a little bit of what my social post text might be. Later that I can go on and customize that. I also have a few fields to help me know, like, hey, what's my Twitter length, and kind of some other things that we'll get to later on. But I think the next step that we want to do is start to, we've got the image of our speaker, but we want to have a social media graphic that includes that person's headshot and some information about what it is that they're going to be presenting. And so that's where we're going to be using Placid.
Great.
Placid app.
Before we move over to Placid, can you quickly explain to us how we can get all of our information from the people's table into the social post?
Yes, no, happy to. That's a great question. So this is where I'm using Airtable automations. If you want to pull up the automations, we can take a look there behind the scenes. And so there is, let's see here, what was the name of that?
Send speaker details to social post.
Yes, send speakers to social posts. Thank you. So I have a view that whenever a record goes from that status of to do or any of the other potential statuses to send to social posts, the automation is basically saying, hey, I want to create a record in this other table, and I'm saying what fields I want to take from table A into table B, what fields they go into table B. And then at the end, once that's done, I go back to my original record in the people table, and I change the status from send to the fact that it's been sent. That way I know who I've sent over.
Awesome. So just to recap this, we jump into our people's table. I go ahead, I change the status of one of my speakers from to do into send to social post. That then moves this record into this view here.
It's not record, copies some of the data. So we're still keeping a record.
Yes. So it takes that record in this view, and then it takes all of the information and copies the information over into the social posts table. And that is how we end up with things like the image and a whole bunch of other things that are currently stored in the people's table.
Correct.
Love that. Fantastic stuff. Another great example of why Airtable automations. Okay, let's move on to the next part, Placid. What are we going to do in Placid?
So we're going to be using some data from our table in Placid, but there's a couple fields that we don't yet have in our social post table that we're going to need for this integration to work. So the first thing that I would like you to do is create an attachment field in my Airtable in the Airtable base. And let's call it created social image.
Okay.
Because since Placid is going to be creating an image for us, it needs to have a destination. And as part of that, that destination is actually two fields. One is the attachment field, which we're calling created social image. Okay. And then the second one is we need a URL field, and we could call that created social URL.
Created. Well, that is a URL field.
Yes. Easy. Easy peasy.
Created. Okay.
Right. Then also, since we're already here adding in a couple of fields, let's also, if you take a look at this base, you'll notice that there are some linked record fields.
Yes, we've got closing session. We've got the speaker, which is also a linked record.
Right. So if we were to just tell Placid to go get that data out of that speaker field, because it's a linked record, it's actually just going to give the record ID, and we don't want the record ID in our social post. So since you're here creating fields, if you can create a formula field.
I call it.
Let's call it speaker for Placid.
Okay, and formula field.
Right. And it's just basically the value that's in the speaker field.
So equals.
Yes.
All right, got it.
Okay.
So I just want, this is a very, very fantastic point that I sometimes see people trip up on, especially working with automation tools like Make as well. Whenever you are using linked records, what you're looking at here is the label, not the actual value. So what Make sees is the record ID, which is something like REC and then a string behind it. So that's why you never find the actual name. So what we just did here is we just basically take the string of the name so that we can then later on read.
Yes, great summary. We need to do that also for our, we have a roll-up field in here that was pulling in our talk title. So if we could basically do another formula field.
Yep.
To grab the person's talk title.
Okay. But title.
Yep.
A formula field, and that is going to equal to, what's the name?
The talks and workshops from speaker.
And work. That. Here we go.
Okay. So we have our additional fields created. One of the things I like to do also is for automations using the when something enters a view. So let's also create a view so that, actually I started one there. It does say create, there is a create.
Create speaker image. Perfect.
Yeah, but there's currently no filtering on that at all.
Okay.
So let's add some criteria for that. So the criteria that we're going to do is if the image status is, let's say, create image in Placid.
Yep.
And then let's also say that the social image field is empty.
Okay. Is that the create, is that the social image field that we're going to use, is that the new field that we created?
Yes, the new field that we could, so basically there's nothing that's gotten into that field yet. So, okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so should we start to set up
Placid?
Placid?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so we're in Placid now. How do we get that information from Airtable into Placid?
Okay. So should we start with a new project?
Yep.
Just from the get-go?
Yep.
So, and if we get into trouble, we've got one already in there that we could always fall back to, but let's start with creating a new project.
Create new project is that, there we go.
Project, there we go. And so just call this like the AATT conference. And use, our source is going to be Airtable, easy enough.
Okay, so first thing that we're going to have to do is create a template.
Correct. And they make it really easy. So under Twitter cards, yeah, let's use that one on the far right, I think is a nice one.
Card.
Yeah, or
yeah. So I change it to Twitter card because we want to send it to Twitter, and then should I go and select this one here?
Yep.
That's it. Okay, and we're create. Now, this opens this up. Okay. Do we start working in here or do we return?
So here,
so because there was on the checklist that said also add your API key. Is that something that we do now or is that something that we do after?
It comes later, and since I've already connected, I guess I'm just now realizing maybe we should have gone back to the other. So I may need to send you the
I may need to send you. I can share my API key with the community. Problem.
Okay.
I'll just change the view of this so that no one can see the API key though.
Okay.
Cool.
So I went in through and I just kind of changed some of this text. So like there's the live webinar, August 20th, 22.
Yep.
I ended up just kind of changing that to say like, hey, let's say our AATT test conference or automation conference.
happens. All right. AATT Automation Conference.
Yes. And then I kind of went down to the pitfalls and solutions for scaling, and I just kind of changed that placeholder text. I'm not sure that that's actually needed. That's just part of my process.
Mm-hmm. So,
Partially because,
so you want me to update this? Sorry, I just cut out there first.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, I just put in there like placeholder title.
Got it.
This may not be totally required, but it does help me. So
Yep.
this is a peek behind the curtains.
Yep.
And then I just changed that to speaker name.
Speaker name.
And
down here.
Talk title.
Okay.
And then I clicked save. And if you wanted to, you could also like add in your logo and some other stuff. But
yep. So you can just click on here, and then you can just go and update the image, all those types of things, and replace it with whatever branding you need.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. So save that. Exit out.
Okay. Save it. Exit. Okay. And now add my API key. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly switch to this view because, it does happen. I noticed that with some of my old videos that somehow like these random records were created for me inside of my Airtable account. And I was like, oh, that's right. I basically make tutorials where I share my API key with everyone and then I don't change it. Okay, so I'm just going to get this API key.
No code maker.
It's honestly, it's honestly like one of those things that you just have to remember. Okay, so add API key. Where we go? There it is. Go update.
I don't know. I suppose we could run into an issue with it being my base, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, that's all good. Okay.
This is live.
No editing this. This goes out as it is. Okay, so I believe I've added my API key.
Okay. So next step is to create and run an action.
Okay.
Right.
So what are we going to put in here? Action title?
Yeah, so let's just say create speaker image. I know naming can be hard, but this one I think is an easy thing to name.
Yep, I had a nightmare with it last week.
I remember.
Okay. Action interval.
Right. I'm going to say on demand. I think one of the things that is very nice about Placid is that you can set up, as you can see, daily, weekly, or via a webhook. But typically when you're creating these types of images, you're just going to be kind of doing it once in batch. So no need to be having anything super complicated. So let's just stick with on demand.
Nope.
And then what do we have next?
Action webhook.
Yeah, we can just skip that for now.
Yep.
We're going to put in our base ID, which.
Okay, so I think base ID you can typically get from the URL, I believe.
Right.
This might not work. I'm keeping an eye on the chat to see if Aron is going to say, no, this is not how it works. But let's live a little. Let's see.
Yes.
Like, obviously, when you're testing these things live, they don't always work out. Are we going to need a specific view?
Yes. So that didn't we create a view?
Yeah, we did. Create speaker image in Placid.
So we're going to pull from that view.
Okay, so am I just going to take the actual name of the view?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Copy this. Paste it in here. And do we need to apply any additional filters?
No, because our view is going to handle all of that.
Love it. Okay. Template name. Webinar Twitter. Okay, so is this where we basically select the image that we created in our project? So in case we had like multiple images, we could just basically select from the drop-down field what we wanted.
Correct.
Okay.
So just a matter of copying and pasting from those new fields that we created.
Okay. So what we're doing here is every field that we created has a variable associated with it that we can map from Airtable. So the webinar title is going to be the placeholder title field. And so what we're going to have to do is just basically jump into Airtable and select the name of that field.
Right.
Lovely. Okie dokie. And so I'm going to jump into the grid view so I can see what I'm doing. And so what I want to use here is talk title for Placid. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so copy that in here, and we're going to put it in here. Next, the speaker image. Okay, so I'm just going to assume that it is the image field. This one here called original image. So I have a tendency to want to copy and paste these things rather than write them out because they are case sensitive and things can go all bad. So just gotten into the habit of copy and pasting rather than trying to write it out. Okay, then we also need roll over speaker for, oh, I spelt it incorrectly. That's all good. We're just gonna take this incorrect spelling, paste it in here. Okay, speaker position. Okay, so what is speaker position? I assume that is the talk title.
I think so, yes.
Okay, so does the talk title sit in both fields or?
Oh, I think one of them, I think one of them I had as the speaker's title.
Like job title or whatever.
Job title, yeah.
Okay.
So we can run a test and then see which fields did we incorrectly map.
Right, this one here. So it's title from speaker. So does that mean, because that is a lookup field, but it's a text field. It's a text field though. Oh yeah, right. Okay. So only use formulas when you're using linked records or roll-ups.
Correct. Right.
Cool.
Right.
And because this here is just looking up a string, we can actually just use the value as it is right here.
Right.
Fantastic stuff.
Yep.
Let's copy it. And let's paste that in. Yeah. Let's see what happens with it. Okay. So speaker position. Maybe I'll put it in here. Okay. So I think I've we don't need to change the background color. We also, webinar tagline is essentially the AATT automation conference. So that's a static value, so we don't actually need to change that. Cool. Okay, and so then the final step in this is output URL, output image.
Right.
Okay, so those are the two fields that we created right at the beginning. So create social image. I'm so excited to see how this all works out.
Yes, well, me too.
Created social image and then also the URL field. Now, is the URL field compulsory?
I believe it is. It is.
Created social URL. That in there.
I've not actually tried it without.
Okay. And so now we've got all of this populated. So let's go through the key steps again. First of all, give it a name and then determine the trigger. And so we've got on-demand, daily, weekly, webhook. We're just going to hit the play button, which is basically on demand. Then connect your base, your table name, and your view. And so the view that we created inside of Airtable basically does the filtering for us. So that means we don't need to apply any additional filters. And then it's just a matter of mapping the fields inside of Airtable to the template that we created inside of Placid. And then once the image is created, we store it inside of Airtable.
Yes.
Love
all
it.
Good.
Okay. Create action. Here comes the big moment. Okay.
Well, it's not going to. So we're almost at the big moment. So if you look at the view that we're filtering on, there's not anything currently in it.
Okay. Correct.
So we need to take that record. Say and get it to move into that particular view. So as part of the status,
post status is okay.
No, that's for posting on social. So the next one,
image status.
No, not. Yeah, I think it's image status.
Okay.
Look, is there a send to Placid?
Create image.
Create image in Placid. There you go.
Got it. Okay, right. And so that should then move the record in view.
Yes.
Yes, it has.
There it is.
Cool. And so can I now hit the play button?
Yes.
Can I hit the play button now?
Isn't that what we want to do as no coders? Is hit all the
Absolutely.
buttons.
Just skip crucial steps and just smash that play button. And then spam their support team with complaints.
It's not working. It's not working.
Okay, so it says last run. So if we hit back in here, our record is gone, and that is because we applied a filter, which is if an image is in that field, then remove it from this view. So this is promising. And now what we can do is, let's see. Wow. So we've got a social image in here.
We have the right data in the right fields.
We do. Or at least it looks like it to me. So we've got our title. We've got the name of the speaker. We've got an image. We've got the title of the speaker. And we're now good to go. And so just because I get excited about these things, now that we've done this, we can just basically do this in bulk, essentially, correct?
Right. So you can add additional automations and such depending upon the size and complexity of what you're dealing with. So in this particular case, I'm probably just going to sit down and be doing a bunch of images all at once. So I'd be doing manual, but if you wanted to have this automation set up to just constantly be going in the background or once a day, you can certainly do that, whatever works for your use case.
Cool. This is phenomenal. I'm going to, I always get excited about these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn a whole bunch of them on. Then we're going to head on over here. And so this is just like my little recap. So once you have approved it to go, then all you need to do now is change the image status to create image in Placid. And then you don't even need to look at the view anymore. That's how confident we are that it's going to work. We're just going to jump on over into here. By the way, whenever I say things like that, that's when it doesn't work, but let's just hit the play button. And so we're going to go back here and we'll see if it all gets added in real time. There we go.
Oh, there goes.
I was almost certain that I jinxed that. Okay.
So
phenomenal stuff.
Yep. And then, also just because Airtable is flexible, one of the things that's really nice too is, we had originally started out with all these individuals as being a speaker, but the way this has been built is if you have someone who's originally, say, an attendee or an organizer or in some other role, you can add speaker to them and then get them going into this workflow. So you don't need to create a secondary.
Awesome. So just to touch on that point, is that just a matter of changing filters somewhere, or?
So if you were to go, say, over to the people table.
Yep.
And I know we've got some folks that, so go to like the grouped people view.
Grouped people view.
And let's say you could just pick a person who's not currently a speaker and change their role.
Penny
yeah,
in chat.
So Penny is here.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead, speaker. There we go. And so someone can have actually multiple roles as well.
Right. So yes, that particular thing is a multi-select because somebody easily could have multiple roles.
Yep.
And then, if you change the fact that we need to create an image related to Penny being a speaker, you can do that, and then it'll move over to the social posts table.
Phenomenal. I love it. That is great. Okay, I'm getting a bit excited, a bit carried away. We only have an hour here to show off all these things. So tell me, now that we've created all these fantastic images, what do we do next?
Well, we just don't want them to sit in our base. We want them to be seen out in the world as part of our marketing efforts. And so the next thing that we're going to do is connect to Zapier so that we can tweet these out based on when we want to. And while Airtable does have the ability to connect to Twitter and send tweets out, at least last I checked, if you mentioned a Twitter account in your tweet, it doesn't work. So that is why we're moving over to Zapier. And you could also use Make or some other gluing tool if you would prefer. So, all right.
Okay. Here we are in Zapier.
Okay.
Getting our
So-
money's worth. Okay. All right. So create a new Zap.
We're going to create a new Zap. Yep. And actually, can we go back into Airtable, because as part of setting up our Zap, we are going to want to have a view as part of the trigger. So I think I started. There is a view that says send tweet via Zapier.
Got it.
But there's no filtering on it currently.
Yep.
So let's add some filtering. So let's add where post status is.
Post status is
Okay to share publicly. And then and image status is okay to share publicly. And then the next thing we're going to add to that, and auto post
status
is the number 1. And so we can come back later and talk a little bit about that, what that auto post status is when we actually go to schedule. Okay, so we now have that view. The things that had been in that view have been taken out. And so let's go back into Zapier and start working on setting up our trigger.
Okay. So we'll start off in Airtable.
Correct. Yep.
The event
is going to be a new record. And we're going to go with that view approach since we just created that view.
Connect account. Base.
This is the 8. Yep, there it is.
Table is.
Our posts, social posts.
Okay. And then limit to view is send tweet via Zapier.
Yes, that's it exactly.
Fantastic. Okay. Anything else we need to do?
No, we should be.
Include file contents?
No, I don't know. I don't honestly know exactly what that means. I have not used that. So if somebody else knows, put it in the chat.
Okay.
Let me know.
Set this field to yes if you have trouble with Airtable file URLs expiring. Never had that issue, so we're all good. Continue. Now,
Yes.
question. Because nothing's in this view, do we need to move a record in there first?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good point.
Okay, so we're going to go back to a grid view. And
Right.
so in order for us to move that record into view, we're going to need to change the post status to okay to share publicly, correct?
Right.
And also image status has to be okay to share publicly.
Right. And then we also need to trip that auto post status field. So if you go into this date to schedule, and if you could put something like within the past couple of minutes. So it's today's date with like.
So 1:35.
Yeah, that should do it.
Okay. I have a feeling that we're building something like Buffer right now.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yes, and there's a lot. This is like there's so much that we can build on top of all of this, but that is like beyond this hour. So okay. So you see how that auto post status went to 1, so it should now be appearing in our view.
Okay, let's check it out. Yep, it's in here.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's go and test our trigger. Of course, you know, at the end of the day, it is Zapier, so you know, no, I'm just kidding. Zapier is great.
No, but these are the moments where I'm always like nail biting. Okay, there it is. Good. With what did I do wrong? When really it's just being slow.
Got it. Okay. All right, so here's the actual record that we just moved into that view. Okay, what is the next step?
All right, so the next step is we need to construct our tweet. So say continue. We're going to look for Twitter,
yep,
which before the stream you've already set up. So we're going to skip, showing how to do that.
Yep. So we're going to go create tweet.
Correct.
Go continue. Then I'm going to have to choose my account. Finlayson Connor. So by the way, everyone who wants to see this tweet, better quickly hurry on over to Twitter and follow me.
Yes, and it's Finlayson Connor too.
Yes, other way around.
Yes.
I think the other one was taken. Or I thought I was being creative. I don't know what it was. Probably the other way around. Okay. So next step
is we need to have something, we need to put something in our post. So we're going to go and we're going to get the social post content.
Mm-hmm. So social post content. What are we
So
gonna
this is where search can be helpful.
Social post content. Here we go.
Yeah. One of the things we didn't talk about is I've got a formula behind the scenes that's calculating that so that you always include like the hashtags related to your event. You could also auto make sure that the URL for your event is there.
Right.
Because it can be really easy to schedule those things out and forget to include those important pieces of information.
Yep. And so here's the formula in case anyone wants to recreate it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I have added our social post content. Now,
Yes.
next step.
We went to all this effort to create an image, so now we need to add our image.
Okie dokie. So we're gonna look for the what did we call it? Created image.
I think created social image, but we actually need, because of how Airtable stores attachments, we actually need to create the created social image URL.
Mm-hmm. So question, because we created two. One, we had the Placid URL, and then we also have the URL that is generated when you add an attachment to Airtable. What one do we want to use?
We want to use the one that we
in Placid? The Placid
the one that the one that we stored from Placid in that attachment field.
Got it.
But that attachment field has a URL value.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm making sense here.
No, you are. I know. So it's
Okay.
so it's this URL here.
Yes, created image URL. Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Should we shorten URLs?
I leave that off, but you may want to for other reasons. But for these purposes, I leave that off.
Right. So basically, what that does is if you post an entire YouTube link, instead of it taking up all of your like characters, it shortens it for you, so it's nice and short. Okay, we don't have a link in there, so we're all good.
But we should, because we want to drive people to our conference website.
Okay, and so do we still add that URL, or is it already in our post?
I forgot to put it in the formula as part of the post. I realized that as we were talking, so
cool.
That's an enhancement.
So, okay, so typically, would you recommend just putting the URL into Airtable through the formula, or yeah?
I would, and here's part of the reason why. You can get really sophisticated with being able to have tracking info. So you may want to put in URL UTM parameters so that you know what part of a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So that you know, hey, these posts that I did at this time as part of this really worked really, really well. So
got it.
Yeah, I would do all that in Airtable.
Cool. Okay, well then in that case, I think we should be good to go, correct?
We should. I do there's another step that I typically add on.
Mm-hmm.
This may be overkill for some, but I want to go back and now update Airtable.
Mm-hmm.
That I ran this Zap,
mm-hmm.
And also update the status that this has been posted.
Okay, so we want to set up an additional step that basically updates the post status from okay to share publicly to posted to Twitter.
Correct.
Lovely stuff. I do that as well all the time. That avoids all sorts of automation accidents in case, for example, Zapier just decides to like run, and if it's not in the view, then it's not a problem. So it's also just easier to like keep an overview of what's going on.
Yep, there's that. Yep, definitely all of that. And there's also a hidden field called automation ID where I typically would put like the Zap and then a reference to this particular Zap so that I can always go back and backtrack.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay.
That's actually a phenomenal tip. I think that's a fantastic tip, because like I ran into that issue at one point where I had a whole bunch of Zaps and I didn't know what was connected to what. I didn't know what views were connected to what. And actually, while we're on the topic, if you are doing this for a client, what I started doing is I actually change it from a collaborative view. So the workflows that are attached to like Zapier or Airtable automations, you can actually just lock it. so that they know that before they start changing the views, that they know that they're probably going to trigger a workflow that way. And so that one is something that helped out a lot.
I like that. I like that. I also use sometimes emojis and such. So, to help, with a field.
Hey, we're no coders.
Whatever.
We've got to love a good emoji. Okay. So we're gonna save the magic moment to the end. Okay, so we won't test the Twitter step yet, but you can start heading over to Twitter and smashing that follow button if you want. Okay, now we're gonna go back to, so once this step has successfully run, we're gonna head back to Airtable. We're going to go to our record in question and we're going to update it.
Right.
Okay. Oh, look at this. Create records with line support. Always adding new features, Zapier. Fantastic. Okay, let's connect our table. Continue. Now, our base is our conference base. Our table is our social posts table. And then the record in question is the record from step number 1. So we can use a custom value. This was like one of the things that I realized when I learned this custom and like mapping Airtable IDs. I was like, wow, I now have understood no code stuff.
But it's not clear. That info is not out there.
Yeah. I get a lot of questions about this. So this would make for a good clip, Aron. Okay, post status.
I wonder who might do that.
Yeah. True. Okay, post status. So what we want to do is take the post status, which is posted to Twitter, and just put that in here. And so we don't need to dynamically map this from any of the previous step, because whenever we reach this step, it's always going to be post to Twitter. And so happy days. That's all we need to do. Is there anything else we need to update?
So there's a field automation ID. And
yep, got it.
And so I would just copy kind of that part of the Zapier URL, just sort of or you could do the whole thing, yeah. I typically just say Zap. Yeah, you can do that works.
You can. Is it a URL field? Because I suppose if you put the entire thing in there, you can actually just, if something breaks, you can actually just go there.
So you could, but the reason that I have that automation ID be kind of generic and text only is sometimes within a particular base, I'm using Zapier, I'm using Make, I'm using different services. Mm-hmm. And so just by being kind of text and short, that just works for me. But you're right, a URL could be helpful too.
Cool. Okay. So should we just leave it and hit the play?
Yeah, let's just leave it.
Hit the play button.
Yes. Gotta hit the buttons.
Okay. So, test and continue won't work here because we didn't run the previous step, correct?
Didn't we run the previous step?
Well, I haven't tweeted yet.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so run the previous step.
So, shall I go test and continue?
Yes.
And now we're going to head on over to Twitter. And now people are going to think I started a new thing, which is a conference. Okay, let's see what has happened. If you're in the stream, can you smash the like button on that post so that I get a good idea of how many people are watching this right now? All right, let's have
the like button for this and for the stream too.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just assuming that people have done that by now, that they've smashed the like and subscribe button. Here we go. Okay. So we got a like, which is always positive. This is why we post on social media. Daniel, legend. We love it. Oh my goodness. we've got a retweet. Oh wow, people are being generous now. Daniel, stop it. Oh my goodness, it's just going up through the roof. Oh, I am Penny, Aron, I did expect it from you, just to be clear. But okay, and so now that we've done that part, now what we're going to do is we come to our final step, which is test and continue, which is the Airtable part. And now what we're expecting is that this is updated. So this has been removed because obviously we updated the status, and we can now see posted to Twitter. We love to see it. Lovely stuff. Okay. So now we give it a name. So we're going to, what should we call it?
Our favorite thing to do, name things.
We call it send conference post to Twitter. And then we'll
That
go
works.
hit like and subscribe. Okay. And now, of course, one thing is publish the Zap, publish and turn on. And now we can basically go wild. Okay. So who else are we going to announce for my new conference? Let's go through this one more time just to make sure that it all works. So here we're going to go, all I need to do is post to Twitter, and then I need to select a date to schedule, which has to be, so if I have it in the future.
Hold on, not posted. Posted is after the Zap runs.
Okay to share publicly. Cool.
And this Zap's probably going to fail because we don't have an image. We haven't created an image for that particular person yet, I don't think.
What don't we have? Oh wait, no, because I think we did, because I got overly excited.
Oh, that's right.
With
okay,
it.
You're right.
Got overly excited with running Placid automations, and now we've got all of these tweets that we can create. Okay, so question: if I set the date to schedule sometime in the future, so let's say 2 p.m., could I schedule it inside of Zapier?
So it's going to stay in here for the time being until that auto post status, which we didn't really talk about, that formula.
Yep.
That auto post status formula is basically taking a look at what the current time is, what the time is that you say that you want to post something, and basically doing either a 1 or a 0 for true or false.
Right. So you don't even need to do that inside of Zapier.
Correct. Yeah. So you don't even need to do that in Zapier. This is not foolproof for like down to the minute, because these things only, kind of run on timers.
Yep.
So, if you want to say have something go out exactly at noon, you don't want to use this. But if you're okay, kind of a little bit here, a little bit there, which you probably are, for your conference posting, this will work out really well.
Phenomenal. So I can see now that we have passed that time, and now it's number 1. And so now it should move into this view, and it might already be gone because the post has already been created. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on who's hitting that like button. So let's check what's going on. We'll hit the history tab and we'll see if this workflow is run. Okay, so Zapier thinks I haven't run any of these workflows at all. Okay, that's cool. We always need a little bit of excitement. Okay, so let's have a quick little look. Send tweet to Zapier. Is there maybe something that we missed?
Oh, I don't know that we changed the image status. Did we change the image status to be okay to share, that the image was approved and all good?
Right, okay to share publicly. So now send tweet. Yes, so now it all works. Now, as soon as it moves into this view, Zapier is getting the okay to post this to Twitter. Now, it might not happen immediately depending on the plan that you're on, because there's like a certain lag that there is between Zapier firing your automation and the plan that you're on. But if we wanted to do, is there a way to kind of do it immediately?
I suppose if you just put something a couple minutes behind, or maybe if you created a button with a webhook or something to automatically post. I just have found that a situation like this works really well. So one of the things that I really have struggled with past events is you have like you're wanting to talk about your speakers, you're wanting to talk about your sponsors, you have all these different buckets, and so it can be hard unless you're going to spend a lot of money on a social media tool to get a good overview of making sure that you're not posting sponsor, speaker. And so that was kind of why I came up with this approach, was that it allows me to be working with these kind of different content buckets. And then ultimately you can create a calendar that gives you an overview of everything. And so I'm typically forward thinking and not thinking in the moment of, I want to schedule this right now.
Love it. Hey, our post is gone. I need to go and double check. So, just wanted everyone to see my photo. Hit the refresh button. I know I can count on Daniel. I know he's already retweeted it. But well, that's okay. Let's see what's going on. It definitely left the view. Let's see if the Airtable... Okay, stopped. Okay, this is actually a good moment to show people how to fix things inside of Zapier. So, failed due to posting a duplicate tweet. Okay, so that's like a unique use case where we may have sent the tweet too soon after the other and it has duplicate content in there.
We didn't change the text. We didn't customize the text of the post. So the exact text. So one of the things you will want to do is make sure that each of your posts is unique. So we did not do that. So
okay, and so it's this text in here.
Right. That is, or no, go one field to the left. So that's what's actually getting posted. And that's a formula based on the field to the left. So that's the field that we would want to be changing and saying, because we don't want to say the same thing over and over and over again. So it's kind of good that Twitter caught that. Because we want to have an interesting social media feed.
Got it. And also, it wouldn't be a true Zapier demo if there wasn't a little error that popped up.
It wouldn't be a true live stream either.
That is correct. Okay, I don't actually know how long we're into this. We
are at the top of the hour, and so...
Okay, time has flown by. This was phenomenal. We essentially built a tool that allows you to create social posts, and then we built also an MVP for essentially what buffer is. Is that correct?
I hadn't thought of it that way, but I that's very well put. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, Colleen, here's your time to plug all of your things. So, please, the floor is yours.
No, well, thank you for that. So, I had a lot of fun doing this and sharing all of this. There's a couple other use cases that we didn't get to that you're interested in. Happy to walk folks through this space or anything else. I know I think Reimar is here in the chat. He does a lot with events. So if you're also looking for other event types of content, especially in the Webflow space, reach out to him. If you do want updates on like this space or suggestions or questions, I can put a link in or maybe I can put a link in the chat. No, I can't put a link in the chat. Go to iheartnocode.com/event planning, event-planning, I think is what it was. And let me know. Or also reach out on Twitter, Colleen M. Brady.
Amazing. And I also do want to quickly say, Zach just put out a message in the chat, which is Colleen for Community MVP at the Webflow Awards. I can tell you not how phenomenal Colleen is. And like, if we're being completely honest, a lot of us that do these streams, we're not, this thing doesn't just happen. So, if you can get a chance, definitely go and vote for Colleen because she is honestly a lifesaver. She does so much around behind the scenes. And so, yeah. This was amazing. This was great fun. I'm going to take what I have learned today and I'm going to apply it to the Unicorn Factory. I want to thank everyone for showing up to my second stream. I'm actually thinking about renaming the stream. No, I'm just joking. but yeah, other than that, I think Aron is going to be back for the next one. And we'll just call it here.
Yeah. So Aron will be back in 2 weeks.
Phenomenal. All right.
Thank you.
See you, everyone.
Thanks, all.
Bye.